Welcome to Series 3 of the Space podcast, the place where we dive into the stories, voices and ideas shaping a more inclusive workplace at Gowling WLG. Please note that this episode contains sensitive content around suicide and mental health, so please do prioritise your well-being and consider your own needs before listening. If you or someone you know is struggling, support is available through organisations like the Samaritans, who you can call on 116 123 or visit samaritans.org for confidential support. I'm your host, Emma Dennis, and today's episode is all about well-being and mental health. This episode is one of courage, vulnerability and hope. I'm joined by Caroline Silcock, who is bravely sharing her experience of losing her daughter to suicide. This conversation will explore not only the personal impact of such a loss, but also how it intersects with life at work, how grief shows up in professional spaces, and how workplaces can better support those navigating trauma and bereavement. Hello, Caroline. Thank you so much for being here today to talk to me.
Hello to you. Nice to see you again.
I wanted to start by just learning a little bit more about you and what you do at the firm. I just wondered if you could share a little bit of your history of the firm and what your current role is.
Yeah, my name is Caroline and I joined Gowling back in the 3rd of September of 2018, quite a while ago. And I remember coming along for the interview with Chris Briley and Navin and the lovely Tracy Lowry as well, who came along and told me all about the senior PA role. And that was working for the banking and finance team on the 11th floor, I think, if I remember rightly, in Birmingham. So I started there and really enjoyed it. Great team to work with. But then I thought I'd really like to get my teeth into something else. So I looked and there was more roles going with business development and they were looking for an admin assistant. So I thought, don't know much about clients and markets and sectors and such like. So I thought it gives me a good opportunity to move over. So I spoke to Charlotte Green, said, can you tell me a bit more about the role? And wham bam, thank you ma'am. In March of 2021, I moved over to clients and markets in the business development team. And I've loved it ever since.
That was going to be my question. Do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy the work you do now?
Absolutely. Well, things have changed since I started. I was not so much of an admin now, but I've moved into an exec role. I was heavily involved in the B2022 Commonwealth Games, and that was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely loved it. Really in depth. Got to know quite a few of the partners and all the activities. Got to go to some of the events as well, which is fantastic. And just had a really great time working with the other teams within BD as well. So, yeah, absolutely love it. And I work on projects now, more project-driven work, which is really exciting.
Oh, fantastic. So we're here today to talk about mental health and wellbeing. And it's been 3 years since your daughter Charlotte died by suicide. I wondered if you could share a little bit about Charlotte, what she was like, what she loved, and how you remember her.
Yeah, sure. Charlotte was a fantastic baby, born in 1989, and was perfect from day one, really, to be honest with you. But I remember having to stay in hospital for a week in those days, although I think that's quite rare now, putting her in a basket in the maternity ward and then plugging her into the hospital radio, soothed away. Nobody even knew she was there. So, and it just carried on from, we used to take her out for dinner. She used to sit in one of her little seats on the table and nobody even knew she was there. She was just so placid, so calm, always smiling, great child all the way through, probably up until she started to go into puberty and then things started to change. But generally, to be honest with you, when she grew up, she was doing really well at work, had a great career ahead of her. She had taken her law degree and she was doing her trust and company exams and was actually in the process of just finishing off the last module. So she's a very switched on young lady, a mother of one, my granddaughter Emily. She had a hard life, but a life that she enjoyed as well. Yeah.
You'd mentioned to me that she'd been living with mental health challenges for some time. I wondered if you could share sort of what signs you noticed around that and how that shaped you supporting her as a parent.
Sure. It started really to do with Charlotte's ill health. When she reached puberty, she had hormone difficulties. So she put on from being a size 8 to a size 16. And being a teenager, dealing with that was just horrendous. But whilst you're dealing, and it's easy to get channeled, so you deal with the immediate thing that's in front of you, you don't see the wider part of it. Maybe at that time, you think back, maybe she should have got some counselling at that stage to help her. And things progressed, and we were fortunate enough that she was able to have an operation that actually cured that. It was a gastric bypass, actually. But unfortunately, with that, there was additional health issues that came on top, which weren't discussed at the time. And they caused her additional health complications later on, years later on, of which she eventually being overdosed with an iron, because when you have a gastric bypass, you don't absorb iron as properly as you should. So they give you iron infusions. But unfortunately, they overdosed her horrendously, causing issues with some of her organs. So that was an added stress. Again, whilst that was being dealt with, medically, mentally, there wasn't the support there behind it. And then I think in regards to dealing with a young child of her own, my granddaughter, bringing her up, the financial commitments and work commitments and such like, they all started to pile up. So there's an awful lot of different things. It's not just one thing. Yeah. And I think it's important to point out that whilst you can concentrate and very easily get sidelined in regards to thinking it's just one particular thing, you have to look at a bigger picture and do get extra help.
Yeah. Looking back now, can you see signs that were leading up to her taking her own life?
Yeah, I think certainly when she was still at secondary school, she had taken some tablets, a couple of paracetamols, but they had been, I think those were the ones, I know that now they have changed them. You're actually made sick from having too many of them, so you can't actually kill yourself from taking that kind of medication. And I think that maybe was a call out for attention. It's difficult, again, to know whether at that age they're actually doing it because of the hormonal changes or whether it's something else, a bullying maybe. But without them actually opening up, it's difficult to know. Yeah. It's very difficult to know.
I wonder if we could go back to those sort of early days after Charlotte died. What did grief look like for you then, and how did you even begin to find your way through that?
For her father, who actually came back to Charlotte's apartment the next morning after everything had happened the previous night when she was upset, to find her there, he still hasn't recovered from that. And I don't think you ever will. As a parent, it's easy for me to say that because I wasn't the one that found her. But it was just pure shock. And I think you run on adrenaline. But certainly for me, because I wasn't living in Jersey, I don't live in Jersey anymore where Charlotte lived. I was almost at a distance, but then I felt like I had to do things and just went into overdrive and thought, right, got to get things sorted, got to speak to the funeral directors, got to try and sort out a church, got to speak to the coroners. There's an awful lot of things that go through your head whilst dealing with a loss. And I think also, for me at the start, when Charlotte's friends found out, they were just distraught, as they would be. Charlotte was in her very early 30s, so they had all started their lives at different levels. And so coping with talking to them was hard. And I have to say, sometimes I felt angry. I felt angry that they were coming to me and thought, do you not think I'm upset? And I found that hard, but I couldn't be horrible. Obviously, I say obviously, but I couldn't be horrible. And I found that family, certainly Charlotte's grandmother, my mother and my stepfather, really did hold it together. And they were very, very strong for me. My ex-husband, Charlotte's father, really struggled, as I say, because he was the one that found her. So, but the feelings, I think it's difficult to know. I had feelings of anger towards him as well for not being stronger, and coping with that on top of everything else as well was hard. People will go through all sorts of emotions, depends on how they're made up. For me, I tried to be supportive and loving to as many people as I could, and maybe at my own detriment at the start. Yeah.
Grief changes over time.
Absolutely. And people often say, don't they, that there's different stages of grief. I felt I fluctuated through all of them quite quickly. Because I'm uber organised, I like to make sure that everything is done. I felt like that kept me going. That was my focus.
Yeah.
And I couldn't think of anything else. I had to do that. So in regards to thinking about work, then I'm afraid that really didn't feature at the time. But I have to say, work have been absolutely brilliant about it. And I think if you're worried about taking time out from work, from your day job to manage, handle, however you want to express it, bereavement, then speak to your manager, talk quite openly about how you're feeling, speak to your doctor, get signed off. And if you still don't feel that it's right for you, because some people might say, well, isn't it time you went back?
Yeah.
You will only know yourself when it's the right time to go back.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say that sometimes I felt I'm ready to go back. And other times I thought to myself, actually, do you know, when it was coming close to the time, I really not, because I just can't concentrate on anything else other than what was going on inside my head.
Yeah. What was that like coming back to work for the first time?
I think because I did take quite some time off. With Charlotte passing away in December, the funeral didn't take place until January, so it was February time by the time I came back. So I had quite a chunk of time off. Coming back was almost a release, getting back to some sort of schedule, some sort of routine. Seeing people. What I found difficult was almost like the levels of sympathy. I wanted people to be just their normal self. And I think it's difficult, though, to be able to say that to others because they think they've got to do that. And you want to comfort somebody who, you know, is in pain or has been in pain. But that's not necessarily always what's needed. And they just need normality. Let's go for lunch. Let's have a coffee.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this particular project, not something else that's related to Charlotte passing or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it, because that's sort of you're coming in, like you say, to get back to that normality and almost switch that bit off for a few hours whilst you're here. How did the firm support you, either the managers or colleagues, during the time you were off through to coming back?
I had a lot of support from my manager and also from the head of the department as well, and HR. And they were very, very good in regards to making sure I was okay and not to rush back. Always saying, don't rush back, take your time, feel comfortable. And that's what I did. I just kept them up to date as and when I felt like I could. But I did want to come back. I'd had enough now and I was ready. I knew, and you do know when you're ready to come back. I can't explain it to you when you will know, but you just get a sense that you're ready to come back.
Were there any challenges you faced when you did come back to work? Like we said, grief isn't a linear thing that happens in a line, it ends, it can go up and down and over time. Once you were back in work, were there any challenges that came up?
I suppose listening to other people talking about their family life, holidays and such like. I mean, it's a normal thing. It's the thing that you do. And that kind of hit a nerve for a while. But then over time, I kind of drifted past it, ignored it, maybe, to a degree, but then embraced it because that's what happens. Life goes on. So, and, you know, it was nice to hear. And then I would start to say, oh, well, yeah, Charlotte and I used to do that, or Charlotte and I did this, or we had plans to do that. And so it does get better. Yeah. And I would always say, and I would say now, is the fact that the more you talk about things, the better it is. No matter how painful it might be at the start, it does get better.
Was it difficult to talk about Charlotte afterwards for a while? I
think to a degree it was. But then as time goes on, you become more used to her not being around. And I took comfort. She had sent me a couple of videos of which I kept so I can listen to her voice. And at the beginning, they made me cry. But after listening to them a number of times, actually, it was quite soothing. And now, if I want to cheer myself up or just to remember, I know Facebook are really good at sending loads of memories through of her, of parties and stuff like that. So I take great pleasure in looking at those. And then if I want to hear her voice, I'll play one of the videos. So I think it's hard sometimes, but it's also a way of grieving, I think, as well. Celebrating the person that you've lost, but also grieving at the same time. But then it gets less and less. Although upsetting for me today to talk to you still, but I think that's good. because it means that she's still in my head, in my heart, and she always will be anyway.
You talked a little bit about the firm being supportive when you came back to work. I just wondered whether there were any types of support, whether it's formal policies or just small human moments that really helped you feel seen and supported.
In regards to one-to-ones, it was very much more my manager that was making sure I was okay. I had support of all the team, obviously, that rallied around, lovely, but no official support. However, I can't remember who it was exactly, whether it was HR or a link or one of the managers turned around and said, don't forget, you can use our health cover and actually get some therapy. So I had actually gone on to Dr. Care Anywhere and spoken to one of the doctors there, and they said the kind of therapies that you can go for bereavement counselling, or you can go and maybe CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy. And they used to turn around and said, at this moment in time, I think you'd be better for CBT. And I couldn't agree with them more. I had 10 sessions, and the lady that I was very fortunate. The therapist was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And it was spaced over 10 weeks. Got little homework projects to work on, which actually changed. I don't know whether anybody knows anything about CBT, but it actually changes your mindset. So when you think everything is all negative, actually you change it around and you realise that actually it's not. Some things are true and other things are not. And it's just opinions and things that you're listening to and your mind tells you. So that really helped me. And I felt in such a better place, I can't tell you. So that's an option. What helped me personally after having that, and it was something I did off my own back, and it's something that I've carried on, was I reached out on a spiritual level. I just purely came up. I don't believe in coincidence because it doesn't exist. It was meant to happen. And I met a lovely lady. I went to speak to her and I told her exactly what had happened. Now, this was in mid-February after Charlotte had gone. And I explained the situation, and she was a Reiki master. We chatted and she performed some Reiki on me, and I felt instantly better. And I went to see her for quite a few different sessions. And for me, that worked. It was something not conventional. It was something that I took great release from. And it's something that I continued, and now I am a qualified Reiki practitioner myself. So I'm a strong believer in it. And I do believe that really does or can help individuals as well. I'm not to say that's ever for everybody, but that certainly helped.
Amazing. What do you think organisations could do better to support people that are grieving or have gone through something traumatic?
I think allowing them to keep the lines of communication open and actually listen to what they've actually got to say, rather than trying to preempt what they're going to say. Because everybody's going to be different. And sometimes it's very difficult for people who are going through bereavement, because they don't really know how they're feeling. They think they do, but they don't necessarily know. So it's almost, sometimes it can be an impossible thing to be able to judge. But having that door open, having different channels that you can actually go down, because everybody's different. Some people like to speak face to face. Other people like Teams calls. I even went on a suicide webinar. I met other people, not just within Gowling, but all over. And found a buddy there. And I'm still in contact with them. And that we just support one another. It's a bit like, I guess, not that I'm a member of the AA, but, you get mentors, don't you, that look after you.
I guess somebody who understands.
Yeah. And maybe if somebody within a team or somebody within HR has gone through that themselves, and I'm hoping that this podcast will also help people as well in regards to that have gone through it. And I'm more than happy to talk to anybody who wants to talk about it, because I think it's important to do it. And as I say, try not to be too judgmental in regards to how you think that person should be feeling, because everybody is totally different. Everybody's got different feelings.
Yeah. Is there anything, if we were thinking about managers or HR teams that were supporting somebody after losing someone from suicide, that they should really avoid doing? Is there anything?
Don't exclude them from things thinking that that's what they need to do. It must, feel inclusive at all times. I suppose language is a tough one as well, the way that we say things sometimes. Try not to be too, oh, there, or oh, it'll be okay, or too overcomforting, too marshmallowy. You need just somebody who's just going to be normal, just talking to you normally. I suppose giving lots of options that you can go down, but not thrusting them on the person, just saying, this is the way. Like we can talk to you about this, we can talk to you about that, but giving the person a little bit of space that they need, but not excluding them from stuff as well. It's very difficult to give a structure because everybody's going to be different.
Yeah, it's hard to generalise on, do this, don't do this, because it'll be people's preferences on what works for them. Is there any sort of message you'd like to share with others who maybe are grieving or supporting somebody else that is?
It does get better. And if you can't talk to your family and your friends, because I know sometimes that's difficult because they're too close. There's the Samaritans, great, pick up the phone. They're trained to be able to answer the phone. You've got Mind. You've got so many different societies out there that can help you. They're trained in all of this. They won't say anything incorrectly. If you can't get bereavement counselling through your doctor, which I know is quite difficult in certain areas, I certainly struggled. And in fact, it wasn't until about a year later that they turned around and said, we've got an opening. And to me, that was too late.
Yeah.
But don't lose heart. Always loads of other societies around.
One other thing I wanted to talk to you about, we'd had a conversation that you weren't very well at the beginning of this year. I wonder if you could explain a bit about what was going on with you, and then we can talk a little bit about the support that you got here as well.
Sure. Yeah. Unfortunately, I came down with pneumonia. And that was just around Christmas time, and then went off to the doctors, as you do, and was told it was a chest infection. Went through the normal rigmarole of loads and loads of antibiotics, and that carried on for a couple of weeks, and unfortunately didn't get any better. Then the doctor, I personally think, quite flippantly said, oh, it might be pneumonia. You probably have to go to hospital. I thought, oh, thank you for that. I ended up going into hospital probably, I think it was just before 12th or 13th of February, just before Valentine's, and didn't come out until the 3rd of March.
Wow.
So it was a double pneumonia, both lungs, but 2 types of pneumonia. One was quite rare, and one was the normal bacterial pneumonia that people get. So whilst I was off, self-certified myself at the start from the doctors, and then the doctors wrote sick notes. I did try and come back in between that time before I actually was admitted into hospital. And I have to say, Charlotte, my boss, was brilliant, but I did keep her up to date.
Yeah.
I think that's very important, and I would say that that's what you need to do. Don't keep people in the dark about what's happening, and don't be afraid to either. Yeah. If you're ill, you're ill. And then coming back after that, it took a long time. After being hospitalised for such a long time, you become institutionalised, and then you don't realise how much your brain switches off. And so coming back, I thought, I'll be all right. I'm out now. I'm on a whole load of pills, but that's fine. I can still function. Yeah. But when I sat back at my PC thinking, oh, yeah, this will be good, I just could not function properly. Yeah. And I thought, I'm going to have to say to Charlotte, I can't do it. And then she was saying that via HR, come phase return to work. And I'd never heard of it before through the occupational therapist. So I had a meeting with the occupational therapist, who was lovely, qualified doctor, went through all the things that I'd been through, and explained that whilst I thought, I'll come back within a few days, that wasn't going to be the case, and that you need to be able to come back in a good position to be able to do your job properly, because you're only going to be doing more harm to yourself and not do your job properly. And it's better that you come back functioning properly than it would be to be coming back half-cocked and really worried about the fact that you're not doing your job right. So, yeah, phase return, fantastic, very comfortable about it, because I just couldn't have coped with coming back. And I think that's important to anybody that's seriously not well, not to rush back and to get the help and maybe speak to the occupational therapist and to say, This is what's going on. Be open, be honest, talk about your symptoms, and you can get help.
I think that's important because people often have a fear of taking too much time off work, whether that be fear of missing out on opportunities, being overlooked, or feeling some type of stigma. What was it that made you feel really comfortable in being open about what was going on with your manager?
I had come across people before, not necessarily within Gowling, but with other firms that I've worked for when I was working in the banking industry. People felt pressured that they needed to come back because they were scared of either losing their job, or if they were fee earners, then they're not pulling in the money. And maybe they even had pressure when they weren't supposed to. So being open about how you're actually feeling and not covering it up is key for your own mental health and your own well-being, to be able to do that. And then your managers know. And so if you have an issue with your manager, then speak to HR. There are different ways about getting around what's going on. So just feel more comfortable. And when you feel like you're ready to come back, or you feel that you're not ready to come back and you need help to be able to come back at a date, then you ask for the help that you need.
I think ask for help is a message for everything across today. I wanted to finally ask you about whether you've found ways to honour Charlotte's memory that bring you comfort. What do you do?
Yeah, well, we've done quite a few already. The bank that Charlotte worked for, they set up, they've got a trophy for her, the Charlotte McCann trophy, and they all fight for it. Not literally, but in a sporting activity wise. So they all try and go in the different locations around the world. So they fight for the trophy. So that was lovely. And they sent me a video of the first year that they did that. So, and then there's a plaque in the office in Jersey where she worked as well. And then where she used to walk her dogs in the park, we set up a plaque on a bench where she used to sit with her name on. On the year that Charlotte was still around, we had actually attempted to do the Island Walk together. I finished it, but she had to give up because she wasn't well. So I was planning on doing the walk next year, but I don't think I'm quite fit enough yet to be able to do it. So that's something that's in the pipeline. And she was instrumental in setting up the Jersey Heart Foundation Trust. She was working for the British Heart Foundation Trust in regards to obtaining funds for them, but then realised that Jersey don't get any of the benefits. So she helped set up the Jersey Heart Foundation. So I would like to give the proceeds of any kind of money that was raised to go to that charity. And one other thing that, again, I can't do at the moment because I'm still in recovery is climb up Machu Picchu. Is something that she wanted to do. And that's something that I fully intend to do. So that's probably going to be 27, probably by the time I get around to doing that. But anyway, I'm hoping that's going to be it. And I'll spread some of her ashes up there. So she'll get to go up there eventually.
Amazing. Yeah. My final question, what is the best thing that's happened to you this week?
I would say coming here today and actually being able to talk reasonably well without bursting into too many tears about Charlotte, her life, and that while she's not here anymore, then, she won't be forgotten.
Thank you so much, Caroline.
Thank you.
Thank you. Massive thank you, Caroline, for sharing such a deeply personal and powerful story. If anybody listening or someone you know is struggling, support is available through organisations like the Samaritans. You can call the Samaritans on 116 123 or visit samaritans.org for confidential support. We'll be back with a new episode to get to know more talented people here at Gowling WLG. Thank you everyone for listening and have a wonderful week.